Imagine never needing a generator again for your ice house, your travel trailer, your RV, your utility trailer. This isn't a dream, it's a reality. This year alone, I've spent over 300 hours on the ice testing this Core Ice House here that has some of the latest and greatest technology in it. And last year, I built a DIY solution that I used for many more hours than that. And I'm here to tell you whether you go the DIY route, which we'll talk about in this video, you go the prefabricated route, or a fully integrated system like what Core Ice has, the days of generator dependence are gone if you want them to be. If you've owned or used an ice fishing house or a camper not hooked up to shore power, meaning plugging it into the wall or an outlet or a hookup somewhere, you know this experience. Dealing with generators, the noise, the smell, the maintenance, the upkeep, the cost of the fuel, the cords, being out in the cold, trying to fill it up with fuel. And I'm just done with it. I have been looking for a couple of years now on how can you do this stuff without a generator, and the industry is ready. We've all heard of lithium, battery power, solar for many, many years. But I'll tell you this, in the last couple of years, there's been some very significant improvements. Last year, I used a DIY setup in order to get myself as long as I could on the ice. I didn't even use solar in that scenario. It was just a bunch of lithium power with an inverter. This year, I'm using the Core Ice system. This is their eDrive system. We'll talk more about it later, but this is a fully integrated system. And I will tell you, there is a night and day difference going from DIY, build your own components, to a fully integrated, proven solution. But we're going to talk about all of it here in the video. Full transparency in this video. Yes, I'm standing in a Core Ice house. And no, this is not a sponsored video by Core. I'm going to talk about a whole heck of a lot more than what Core Ice has to offer, but I will tell you, if you're looking for a fully integrated solution, the reason why I'm in this unit is I reached out to them and I wanted to try it out because this is, as far as I know, the best system out there in the market today that you can buy ready to go from a manufacturer. So we're going to talk not only about this, but also how you can do this all on your own as well. So the typical person says, okay, well, go to battery power. Well, what are the cheapest, most available batteries out there in the market today? They're lead acid batteries. You may even have a lead acid battery that you use today or multiple of them. That's okay. But lead acid batteries are not the best option for this because you can really only use about 50% of the battery capacity without damaging the battery. If you're in really cold temps, like when you're ice fishing, you have to make sure that thing stays charged up before it gets out in the cold. Otherwise, the freezing temperature will damage the battery. And they take up a lot of space. They're heavy. And then if anything happens to it, you got to replace them too. So what's the solution and how do you make it work? Well, I'm going to actually steal an analogy from Jesse at Core Ice. He talks about this all the time, which is how they design their units. But it stands for anybody that has their own and is building their own. And the reason why it's called the 4-leg stool, you got it right. If you're missing any one of these components, it's not going to be a very good solution and you're probably going to fall over. First, you want a well-insulated structure. And the reason why is most of your energy usage, whether it's in the summer and you're trying to cool or keep it cool, whether it's in the winter and you're trying to heat and keep an environment heated, that structure is going to hold in the temperature that you have. Most of your energy goes towards heating or cooling the air. And so it's really important to make sure that your structure is insulated, airtight to the best of your ability, of course, having the appropriate ventilation as well. But having that solid structure is going to allow you to conserve as much energy as possible. Second is the storage resource of power. So that's a lithium battery in this scenario. They're lighter, they take up less space based off of the same capacity in a lead acid battery. They have heated versions of them so you can actually store them, use them, charge them in colder environments. There's a lot of options out there. I'll link a couple down below in the description, everything that I talk about if you want to check out what I recommend for each of these alternative options. But then, of course, Core Ice also includes these as an integrated solution. And I imagine other manufacturers may down the road as well. Third, and this one is actually more important than you think, even in the winter, believe it or not, solar. Solar power is going to allow you to top off, charge, trickle charge, even fully power your setup that you have, even in the winter, if you have the right solar setup. This unit that I'm in right here has a 185 watt solar panel on the top. That's enough for a trickle charge. It can actually take care of on a sunny day in the winter. That one panel alone can actually take care of most of my power usage charges in the middle of the day when it's right around freezing outside, because I don't need a ton of power going and it's daylight out. And fourth is a inverter system. This is what's gonna allow you to go from that DC, that battery power or that solar power, to AC power, like your normal outlet, to power all of the other appliances and things that you have, your microwave, your fridge, or whatever you got that you wanna just plug into a wall outlet. So let's talk about the setup that I've been using this year out on the ice that has every year over year, I've been advancing and getting closer and closer to self-sustaining even without a generator. And this year, it's pretty dang good. Core Ice has what they call their eDrive system. It essentially is that combination of the battery, the inverter, the solar panels, your whole power solution that allows you to do all of this off-grid stuff. They've got everything from a level 0 to a level 5 currently in their assortment for this year. This unit that I'm standing in and that I've been using this ice season is a level 2. This level 2 system has 7.8 kilowatt hours of lithium battery capacity in it. That's the equivalent of taking a 100-watt light bulb, you know, the super bright ones, and the old ones that consume a ton of power, screwing that into a light socket, leaving it on full go for 3 straight days nonstop. That's how much power is in this. In terms of the inverter that we talked about, this is a 2400 watt pure sine wave inverter with a boost capacity up to 5500 watts. That's going to give you that starting juice that you need to get something like your air conditioner going. So anything where it needs to boost for a short period of time, it can go all the way up to that, but it can consistently run at 2400 watts. This unit has just at that entry level of 180 watts of solar on the roof, but it can be upgraded to 2,500 watts of solar. You put that on there, you're not going to need a generator. Let's be honest here. So you can go anywhere in between those two. This one has that 180 watts of solar on the roof, which I've noticed an incredible difference even just with that one panel, even in a day's use. And with just this setup alone, I can run everything in this place at basically the same time. Microwave, I haven't tried the air conditioner, but I could run the air conditioner, the microwave, the fridge, the TV, all the lights, the stereo, the speakers, charge all my stuff up. This thing is self-sufficient. You don't have any need for a generator. So I'm going to be honest with you. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about here is my power consumption needs and the things that you're going to be looking for. My needs, I would consider myself an incredibly power-hungry user. I do a lot of different things when I'm out on the ice. I will run the microwave. I've got a Keurig that I use for coffee in the morning. I've got a Pizza Pizzazz that's plugged into electric power. I keep most of the lights on almost all day. This thing's got like 5 zones inside, a zone, 4 zones outside for lights, plus then all the RGB zones, 5 different levels, and I keep this thing usually going full bore. I've got cameras all over the place that I plug in, multiple live imaging systems, sonar systems, underwater cameras that get plugged in, got Starlink. I'm not going to keep going on, but you can tell I got a lot of things pulling power all at the same time, all day and all night long. So just realize I'm probably not your typical, person, but if you set your system up like I would do, you're definitely going to have enough power. So let's talk a little bit deeper into the specific components. And if you were to do it yourself, or if you're looking at what Core Ice has to offer in each of their level systems, what you're going to want to look for. First is the lithium batteries. Again, lithium battery is incredibly important because you can use about 90% of the capacity. It's usable all of the time. It's not 50% like a lead acid battery before you start damaging that battery or have to worry about freezing cells and those types of things. Lithium batteries that are out on the market, I'll link some down below as well if you're interested in looking at some of the bigger ones to put in your houses, both ice fishing, camping, RV, heck, even in your boat if you want to. And then in this Core Ice house, some of the things that they have. And one of those features that you're going to want to look for, especially if you're using it in cold, even in your boat in the cold, is heated lithium battery. What that allows you to do is it's self-heating, so that way you can actually use it in the cold and you can charge it in the cold. Normally lithium batteries, you need to get above that freezing temperature in order to charge it without damaging the cells. Most lithium batteries that are out there, at least reputable ones, even if they don't have the heating capability, have what's called a BMS or a battery management system in them. And what they'll do is it will disconnect the ability to charge the battery because they don't want you to hurt it when it's below freezing. Here's the problem with that. If you go that route, which that route is completely fine, but if you go that route and it's cold out, you can't charge your battery even off of a generator when it's below freezing. You need to be able to warm that battery up. Now, granted, you could go warm that battery up and then start charging it, but it's better just to have that heated capability built into the battery. So again, check down below. Otherwise, Core Ice includes that in their system. All right, now let's talk about the inverter. This house has a beefy inverter in it. There are DIY solutions that I will have listed below as well, but the things that you want to look for and remember about an inverter is taking your battery power or your solar power and it's turning it into AC power. AC power is just like your normal outlet in your house. It allows you to use all your appliances. AC power is also required for things like an air conditioner or your more powerful appliances, a pizza pizzazz, a microwave. Those are all AC powered appliances. Now, something that's also really important about this is even if you aren't looking for off-grid usage, but you want to be able to plug into a generator, having a powerful inverter is actually going to allow you to use a super small generator if you ever wanted to, or plug into a 15 amp breaker in your house and still run the air conditioner, because that inverter will be able to pull from the battery and supplement in addition to the AC power coming in to give you that boost power that'll allow those bigger appliances to start and run. So for your DIY builds, what I would recommend is at least a 2000 watt continuous inverter with a boost capacity over 3500 watts. Ideally more than 5000 if you can. And you want to make sure that you get pure sine wave. Pure sine wave is important for two reasons. Number one, it's more efficient. It's going to use less of your battery power converting it into AC power, which is going to allow you to use those longer and use less of your battery. The second reason is it's cleaner power. If you're doing something like powering a TV or trying to plug your laptop in, those things are actually very sensitive to what they call dirty power. Having clean power, which the pure sine wave inverter is going to allow you to have, will also provide better performance. And hopefully at times it can actually prevent you from having issues with those electronics. All right, moving on to solar. So even the smallest solar panel, like a 100 watt solar panel, is going to make a huge difference for you. I know because I have just 180 watts on the roof of this thing, and it's made a huge difference. I can get more than 100 watts of output coming from that one single 180 watt panel on my roof, even during the winter in Minnesota. That makes a huge difference. If you put even more of the solar on your roof, you're going to get a lot of benefit out of it. And that's really where you get to a point where you never even need a generator because you can last. And it's just during the days, even cloudy days, solar panels do work. It's a myth that you think if it's cloudy out or overcast, you don't. You still get charging. What I really like about the solar is even if it's in storage or you're parking it at your house after a trip and you're going to be using it later on, as long as it's outside and it gets daylight, you're actually charging your system even if you're not plugging it in. You're going to make sure that those batteries stay in tip-top shape and everything's going to be humming for you. If you're going the DIY route, one thing that I really recommend is the more flexible panels. You can get the rigid panels, but the flexible panels have come a really long way, which allows you to adhere it directly to your roof on the side of your unit, really wherever you have the space for the most power possible. Now, there's a lot of scientific things around the angle of it and all of that. It's up to you how deep you want to go into that. This isn't a solar specific video, but my recommendation is just get as much of it on there as you can, sized appropriately to your battery system. Next is a monitoring system. You're going to want and need actually a really basic monitoring system, and you can go all the way up to really nice ones. This unit that I'm in right here has a 5-inch touchscreen monitoring system, which is super nice. But you're going to want to be able to see voltage input, voltage output. You're going to want to see solar charging, all of that. In most of the components that you're going to need to set the system up, you're going to get that anyways built into the system. However, if you want to step up to a nicer system, I recommend going the fully integrated route because it's super awesome. So like Core Ice with their different levels. What's awesome about this is I've got a hotspot that I just leave in here. I can access all of the data anywhere that I have cell signal or Wi-Fi anywhere, right? I can leave this thing out on the ice, and at home I can see exactly where I'm at, how much power is going into it. These systems can also alert you if anything crazy going on, like a battery issue, a weird power draw that shouldn't be there, alert you of a low battery. If you're building yourself, what I recommend is upgrade at least to a Bluetooth monitoring system. So that way, as long as you're within the vicinity, you're still going to be able to access it through an app on your phone. And of course, you can go up to cellular, Wi-Fi, those types of devices if you want to continue to upgrade. And again, I'll link down below a couple of my recommendations. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my real world performance. So this unit that we're standing in right here has 600 amp hours of Life PO4 battery. It's got the 180 watts of solar on the roof. It's got the big inverter. I already told you, I'm a super power hungry user. So in an ideal day in the winter on the ice, ideal being it's sunny out, it's still winter, so it's not very intense sun, but it's sunny out. The temperature is right around freezing, so it's not super cold where the heater is going gangbusters all day, which it actually never even does, even on the negative 40 days out on the ice because of how well insulated it is, kind of back to that four-legged stool example that I was telling you about. But the reason why that's important is because you're going to use less power on those warmer days when you're out on the ice because your heater doesn't need to be pulling power in the fan pulling out of it. I can go an entire 24-hour period of time where I use about 46% capacity. And that's with charging cameras, laptops, units, all the lights on, like the whole coffee pot going, right? The Keurig, the microwave, the pizza pizzazz. 46%, so about 300 amp hours in a 24-hour period of time. And so I can get out of this ice house with my power consumption on an perfect scenario in the winter, I can get a full 2, maybe a little bit more days out of it. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, on a day where it's negative 20 out, cloudy, overcast, snowing, like you're not getting very much, if any, solar production at all, I eat up about all of the battery usage, so 600 amps in one 24-hour period of time. But again, I'm a crazy power hungry user, so don't take that as what you're going to see. Most people will likely get, even on the worst days, about 2 days of use out of this level 2 system in this house if you use it the way that I imagine a typical user would. Now, for myself, if I were buying a unit like this, I would go up for sure. I'd probably double the capacity of batteries that are in here, as well as add a lot more solar. This is what I will tell you. The 180 watts of solar, even with my usage on an ideal day in the winter, I can actually have that solar panel produce about that 10 to 15% of my usage on a daily basis. So you can imagine how you add a little bit more batteries, you add more solar, you're going to be able to work indefinitely out of this without having to plug it into a generator or shore power. So I'll link down below to some of the batteries, the solar, and the components that I think will be helpful for you if you want to upgrade your own system or look at what's out there if you're not in the market for a brand new ice house. Okay, so how do you figure out how much power you need? How many batteries do you need? How many solar panels do you need? Here are my quick tips on things that you should know. Bigger appliances and anything that uses an outlet in AC power will draw absolutely the most significant amount of power. You also have to remember you're pulling out of a 12 volt system. So you need to invert that power from 12 volt to 120, 110, 120 volt in order to get those to work. You're going to lose power just by doing that inversion of the power. So that's one thing to know. So calculate how many of those things are you going to be using in a typical standard. And if you can get away with just using 12 volt appliances, lights, heaters, and all of those things, you're going to be better off and save more power. So that's one thing to know. Second, just the concept around if you're heating or cooling the air or any other appliance, they're going to use the most power as well. And typically, again, why the insulation of your unit to not have to run that air conditioner, to not have to run that heater, are going to actually keep you from consuming less power. Next, lights. LED lights, while they don't use as much power as other forms of light, so make sure that you swap out to LED lights if you don't use LED lights today. Even if you're not changing anything else, go to LED lights if you haven't already. But two, a lot of these houses, including this one that I'm standing in right here, there's so many LED lights on everything, it actually adds up. If I have all of the LED lights on full bore, at one time, I'm using over 200 watts of power just to power the light. So just know LED lights can add up and pull quite a bit of power too. So how do you calculate this? Here's my recommendation. If you already have a unit, I don't care what you're using for power, get a little voltage meter that has a current flow on it. And I'll link one down below that you can actually hook up in line and be able to see this. Run it for an hour, run it for your typical use day, run it for a full day, whatever time periods that you want to test. And you'll actually be able to see how many watt hours of power that you use. And then with a simple online calculator, you can convert that and say, how long do I want power for with that typical usage? Is it a week? Is it indefinitely? Then you can look at how much power you're going to need. My recommendation is figure out how much battery power you're going to need for kind of that peak usage multiplied out. So calculate based off of worst case scenario, add 20% to that. You're better off having a little bit more, because you never know that new piece of technology or that extra person that comes with, they're going to use some power as well. So go 20% higher for that for your battery usage. And then from there, you calculate, okay, how much solar do I want to be able to generate to replace the battery power as it's being consumed? Now, for solar, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to calculate how much wattage do you want. The recommendation that I have, and I'm no solar expert here, is I would half that. So in a typical time frame of when you're going to be able to generate solar energy, if you've got 180 watts like I do on the roof, I'm going to half that in an ideal situation and say I'm only going to get 90 watts out of it generated per hour. And so when you recalculate the watt hours going back into your batteries, you'll be able to calculate based off of your usage, the power that you have, storage power in your batteries, and the power coming out of the solar panels, exactly how long you're going to be able to last without running out of battery. Another big thing with solar panels is keep them clear of snow. Yes, even on cloudy days, overcast days, even when it's snowing out, you can generate and will generate solar power. However, keep them clear of snow, because that definitely will cut off how much power you're able to generate. If you are one of those people that wants to be able to angle the panels and whatnot, you can do it. And if you are really good at it and you figure it out, you can actually generate 15 to 20% more power by having it at the correct angle than if you just had it in a very attached, blanketed surface, if you will. All right, so let's not joke around here. Let's talk about cost considerations. It is no secret that this stuff costs money. However, if you actually look at it in the long term, it's not as much or as costly as you think. It may even save you some money. I will link a form down below. I think it's the IRS form 5965, but you can actually get a 30% tax credit for the amount of money that you spent upgrading your system in this way off of your taxes. So make sure that you check that out down below if you are going to be doing this upgrade or buying a unit like this unit or a Core Ice unit that has this full setup in it. And actually, if you go through Core Ice, they'll actually help you figure out exactly what you have to do. So based off of all the graphs and charts and data that I've seen, based off of kind of that normal recreational usage scenario, this type of system, if it's sized appropriately to what you need, normally pays itself back in about that 5-year time frame. When you factor in the cost of a generator, the fuel, the maintenance, repairs, the inevitable replacement of that generator when something goes bad, the lithium system will break even or come out ahead kind of right around that 5-year mark is what I've found. Now, if you're using this for work in like a commercial application where you're a heavy user, you're going to pay this back in a lot of times, and Core has a lot of data on this. Usually within a year, you're going to pay for it back. The other thing a lot of people don't think about too is you can't forget about factoring in the convenience aspect. That silence, reliability, not needing to bring a generator with, not needing to go and fill it up, catching more fish because you're not making the noise out on the ice, going someplace you never could have gone before because you couldn't bring enough fuel with, or you were worried about something breaking down. All of that doesn't have a quantifiable that's generally accepted. So you've got to think about what that cost is to you. So should you go with a DIY solution or should you go with a system like this, one of the eDrive systems from Core Ice? Here's the pros and cons of both. DIY system, no doubt, you're probably going to save a little bit of money, right? But you've got to do all the work yourself. You've got to learn a lot as you're going through it. Probably going to screw something up along the way and you're going to need to redo it, or you're going to break something and need to fix it. Now, if you go a fully integrated system, in the end, it's going to cost you a little bit more for sure. No question about that. It's not going to be at the same price, but likely better quality components that have been proven to work together. You're likely going to have a warranty in case something goes wrong with it, and you're going to know it's done right and professionally done. Like Core Ice, they have professional wiring. All the components look absolutely incredible in there. They know the system is intended to work together. They can help you calculate exactly how much that you're going to need for battery and solar and inverter and everything. But if you're tech savvy and you really want to dig into it and try it yourself, absolutely give it a shot. I linked everything down below that I would recommend in terms of components. See what you can do. Maybe even start out with a really light system and you can always upgrade later on too. All right, so if you want to go the integrated route, maybe you're looking at a unit, what is out there? The reason why I'm in a Core Ice House, and I kind of said this at the beginning, is because Core is the leader in the industry right now, not just for ice houses, but for pro trailers, for RVs, for travel trailers. They are the leader in the eDrive technology right now. I have not come across or seen, if you know of one, link it down below because I want to check them out, somebody that can compete to this level with an integrated system. Now, I know there's lots of others out there that say that they have solar, they say that they have lithium on board, but not to this degree. I've looked everywhere, and that's the reason why I reached out to Core to say, let me check out the systems that you have, because it is the most intriguing to me and what I'm looking at potentially getting. I honestly think, which is why I'm putting this video together, this stuff is gonna take off. It's gonna become more and more readily available. More and more manufacturers and makers are going to build and integrate these systems and solutions in. They're going to get more efficient. They're going to get cheaper and more affordable. You remember the evolution of gas augers to electric augers? I see that happening with powering your trailers as well. So we'll see if I'm right. Let's check back in a few years. Check out the description if you want to see all the different components, this Core Ice House, some more information on this technology down below. If you have any questions on this setup or what I recommend or any of the other setups, or just want to add to the conversation, please leave a comment down below. I would love to get into some conversation about this and see how this technology evolves and can truly help you out and move away from using generators. Until next time, take it easy.